Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to H Capture Live in the new studio. We are thrilled and blessed to actually have in the studio an Emmy Award winning producer, writer, and now actor, Mr. Christopher McDonald. How are you, sir? How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Awesome, awesome. Me and Chris, we've talked on and on. I've been trying to get him on the show, and it was really my fault because I was redoing my studio. But we actually got him on, so we have a lot of stuff to pick his mind about. If you aren't aware, you definitely saw him in. I'm actually watching the trailer. I've watched the trailer like 60 times so far. In the new movie Superman from James Gunn and DC Comics. Chris, he plays Ron. How do you pronounce it? Troup?
Troop.
Troop. Okay, so Ron Troop. So we're going to talk to Chris about that, and then we're also going to, pick his mind about other things that have going on. He's actually, if you look at his resume, he's worked with a lot of talented people, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Kelly Clarkson, to name a few.
One of our producers, Christopher McDonald, was in the movie with Rachel. Can we show a picture of Chris just to embarrass him? Here you go, Christopher.
There's Chris.
We love Chris. He's so good. I rave about him all the time, on and off air, just because he's so great with music. His knowledge of music is insane. But this is his first time, I think, acting. How did he do? He's a great producer.
I would never have known that if that's true.
Okay.
He was a part of the Daily Planet gang, so we got to spend quite a lot of time together.
Yeah.
He was so fantastic. I mean, that whole crew.
Worked with Arsenio Hall and a lot of different things across the board. So it's going to be a very interesting interview, and I've been looking forward to it. So once again, thank you for showing up on the show, sir. And hopefully it's short and sweet, but it's something that we're going to look forward to, and we'll definitely look back on this.
Thanks for having me.
Not a problem, not a problem. So the first question that I have for you is, where did you grow up and how did you get into the entertainment industry? So it's like a two-part question.
Yeah. I grew up in Army brat. So my dad was in the Army.
Here we go.
Yeah. So I moved every 3 years. I'm the youngest of three brothers. So my two older brothers got to experience being in one place, I guess, for a little bit. Because my dad was sort of starting up. He had already been in the Army for a couple of years, enlisted. But we were living in Fort Meade, Maryland, to be exact. I was born in D.C.
Okay.
I'm a Washington fan.
Yeah, we were talking trash earlier, but okay. Yep.
Yeah. So me and my brothers, all three of us were born in D.C. Technically, one was born in Fort Meade, but two of us were born in D.C.
Okay.
And right away, we started moving. I would say about I was 10 months old when we started moving. And first we went to South America because my parents were originally from Guyana, South America.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people know Guyana through the Jonestown Massacre, which obviously my parents had nothing to do with. Those are Americans. My parents are from the capital, Georgetown.
Okay.
So we went there for a little bit. Then I moved to Japan.
Nice.
At the Misawa Air Force Base in Japan for 3 years. Then we moved to Colorado. I was there for 3 years. Then we moved back to Japan. And while we were in Japan, we hopped over to Korea a few times. And then I moved to Kentucky and Tennessee. And after living in Kentucky and Tennessee, I say Kentucky and Tennessee because I lived in Fort Campbell, which is right on the border.
Yeah, I'm aware.
In Tennessee.
Yeah.
So my house was in Kentucky, but everything I did, schooling, everything, girlfriend was in Tennessee. And I eventually moved to Germany during my high school years, which was fun.
Everybody tells me if you go to Germany, you're not going to want to come back.
Man, it was so fun. I didn't even want to be there when I first moved there. It was weird. For whatever reason, I was just in this mindset that I missed the States. I wasn't feeling it. I was angry. I was bitter for no reason at all, just being bitter. I remember we moved there this summer after my freshman year in high school.
Okay.
And I was just getting my footing going, and I was finally feeling acclimated to living in Kentucky. And I had this core group of friends, and I had a growth spurt. Finally, girls were starting to like me. And then
You're like, oh, I'm good now. I'm good.
Yeah. I was so angry. I said, damn it. So we moved to Germany, and like I said, it was a slow start for me to get used to it and start liking it. I remember the turning point for me, not to say that this is the only turning point, but when I started enjoying it. I was sitting around just moping because I would always just sit in the living room and just be pissed about life. And my dad was sitting in there with one of his fellow soldiers. So fellow soldiers decided to make small talk with me.
What was your dad? He was enlisted or he was an
He
officer?
was enlisted, yeah.
Enlisted, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like me.
And he, his fellow soldier looked over and basically said, "Hey, young blood, how you doing?" I looked back and I said, "I'm okay."
I'm all right. Leave me
You
alone.
happy to be in Germany? I said, "Nah, I don't like it. I don't like it here." I said, "What do you mean I don't like it?" I said, "I just don't." And I remember he turned to my dad and said, "What's wrong with your boy?" He said, "Oh, he's just been sitting around moping. I keep trying to get him to go outside. It's the summer. Ever since we moved here, I can't get him to go outside." So he said, "Okay, I got this." So I remember my dad got up and went to the kitchen or something like that. And then his fellow soldier leaned over and he goes, and I'll never forget, he had a drink in his hand. And he was like, "Hey man, so you don't like it here?" I said, "Nah, I don't. I'm just not feeling it." What don't you like about it?" "I don't know, man. People are corny. They're corny. I don't like it." And then he goes, "Do you like pussy?" I said, "Excuse me?" Nigga, where did this come from? Yeah, what talking about? Do I like it? And I asked him, and I said, "Yeah."
Where did that come from?
So my answer, "Yeah, of course I do. Why would you ask me that? Of course I do." And then he said, "Well, you need to go outside, go downtown, and walk around. That's it. Just walk around."
Yeah.
I said, "Okay." So I went to my brother, who was a year and a half older than me. Everyone thought we were twins. And I went to him and I said, "Hey, Gavin." He said, "What?" I said, "One of Dad's friends said I should go downtown and walk around." And he said, "Okay." And he asked me if I like pussy. And he goes, "What? Why would he ask you that?"
Why would he ask you that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He said, we should go around, just walk around. And my brother goes, "Okay, let's go."
In trouble.
Yeah. So that was a whole turning point. I'll never forget.
That was it.
Yeah, that was it. I was like,
it.
"Oh, that's so bad."
Girls looking at you is like, "Oh, where are you from?" Blah blah.
Yeah. So it ended up being great. So I was there most of my high school years.
Okay.
It wasn't until towards the end, towards the middle of my senior year, we had to move from Germany to Alabama.
Oh wow.
It was a culture shock. I mean, I thought leaving Kentucky and moving to Germany was tough, but leaving Germany, and we were in Frankfurt, so we were living the city life.
Yeah, city life. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Alabama is like, and what part of Alabama? I mean,
Fort
most
Rucker.
parts are bad, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Fort Rucker, which is an hour and a half south of Montgomery, a neighboring city. It's an enterprise, the Bowie of the world. And there was nothing to do there. I was so bored.
That's what everyone says. It's like I've driven through Alabama, but I've like visited there or stayed there for more than maybe a couple hours or whatever. But all the friends that I've gone to Alabama, they say there's certain spots obviously that are nice everywhere, but there's very little out there.
Very little. I remember just feeling I don't want to say I felt that I was in a dead end because I didn't. If anything, that's when I started writing, right? Yeah. Prior to that, I only envisioned writing or envisioned creating. So I'll never forget, I saw Bad Boys in the theater.
Okay.
And I came home and I said, "Yeah, that's it. That's what I want to do."
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to write and create. And I started writing because I had nothing else to do. Because I didn't really know anyone. I moved there in the middle of my senior year. Graduation was depressing.
Yeah, because all the people that you were. Yeah, I got a story after this because my son was similar to that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was. We moved from Connecticut to Mass, and he was senior year, and originally we were trying to keep him down in Trumbull High in Connecticut, and we were like, we'll try to make it work. The school didn't really, whatever their guidelines were, he didn't fit it. We had a place, we had family, and all this other stuff. They were like, "No, you have to stay there." I was like, it is what it is. We got another room in the house. You can come, come up here, and we'll make the best of it. Same thing, pouting, looking around, hating it, and stuff like that. I'm just take a chance. Like, people are different up here, obviously, but we're not too far from family, your friends. Now, loved it, impact in school, got all these awards. Now he has friends in Mass, and he has friends in Connecticut. And I was trying to explain to him, me and my wife, we were trying to tell him, like, part of growing up is expanding, growth and learning other people's cultures and involved with other people. So this is a perfect example for you, because not only are you, you working with other people and learning where you are in terms of like the overall, but now you have friends in two different states, and you would have never had these other friends, and you wouldn't have tried to keep the other ones as hard if you didn't have that bond. So he went to I think prom in Connecticut, and then he graduated last week in Mass. So he had a little bit of friends in every spot. He's going to college. He's going to Central Connecticut State
That's
University.
great. That's
Yeah.
great. And to your point, that it makes you resilient for sure.
Mhm.
It opens you up to the world. You have empathy for your fellow human being, different cultures.
Yep.
I remember that's something I wasn't cognizant of growing up, only because I was surrounded by people who were living the same life, who were
Mm.
moving from state to state, country to country,
Mm.
immersing themselves into different cultures. So I didn't realize until I went to college the life I had. And I ended up leaving Alabama after graduating. My parents coincidentally moved to upstate New York
Okay.
2 weeks before I started college. And I went to college in Boston. So it's perfect, closer. Yeah,
Huh?
yeah. So I've been
Yeah.
going to Emerson College in Boston, which
Okay.
is, yeah, and
We're like
Emerson.
20 minutes away. So I know all
Okay.
yeah, yep, I know that.
Yeah, yeah. And for
My sister
anyone
went
who's
to
not,
MIT. So
oh, okay.
yeah,
I mean, I went to parties at MIT. They do better parties. For some strictly curriculum people, they do some parties.
yeah, it's like
Yeah, they were nuts. But yeah, Emerson is a film, TV, acting, dance, and journalism school. So
okay.
I went to college and got my degree in journalism.
Mhm.
But while I was there, I took every class possible: public speaking, film, you name it, right? A couple acting courses,
Okay.
acted in student films, stuff like that. I even won ironically, best actor award for a student film. That this guy he's a pretty well-off showrunner right now, who I went to college with,
Oh,
but
that's
he was the
cool.
guy who always made the best student films
Okay.
and feature-length films. And ironically, the one where I won best actor in was a superhero film called Gentleman.
Let's go.
Yeah, yeah, about a superhero named Gentleman
Foreshadow.
who wears
Let's
a
go.
tux.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wears a tux and eyewear, like an eye mask.
Okay.
And he fought crime in the 60s and 70s and
Mm.
disappeared off the face of the earth because he killed his arch nemesis, or he thought he did, but the arch nemesis was frozen. The arch nemesis comes back in current time, which was the 90s,
Mm.
and no one can find Gentleman. This guy's wrecking havoc. The villain's wrecking havoc.
Mm.
This college student suspects that his college professor was Gentleman. So he keeps dropping Easter eggs and carrots trying to catch him. And eventually he's right. His college professor is Gentleman, the superhero. I play the mayor of
Okay.
the city was kind of like Gotham. And I played
Okay.
the mayor, this cantankerous mayor. I had fun shooting it. And then, yeah, just doing some lines, ad-libbed, did everything I could, and then ended up winning Best Actor and it's called the Evie Awards, which is an award ceremony, but they send all the material off to Los Angeles where the industry votes on it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I was really flattered. I did not expect to win that. I said, well, I'm just won Best Actor. Yeah, but yeah, so that's where I got my start education-wise, graduated, got my degree in journalism.
Did you
moved
want to
out.
become an actor, or did you want to become like a journalist or a writer? It was
No,
like,
no, honestly, I wanted to do music journalism with the intent on that being a steady paycheck
yeah.
while I wrote film, while I wrote screenplays, teleplays, you name it,
Mhm.
and created stuff and maybe created a show. I don't know. The goal was just to definitely write something and sell it.
And sell it. Yeah.
And yeah, and I had a lot of great things happen when I moved out to LA, script writing wise, but yeah, but the paycheck was definitely doing journalism, which I moved on from eventually and didn't want to stick with. But that's how I got into the industry from college and from school.
Awesome. I feel like a lot of people across the board, we're both in the entertainment industry, but they don't really know the back ends of like the waiter jobs, the bartending jobs, the stuff that kind of just security jobs, something that can kind of maintain the funding until you land something. And then they also, a lot of people, when they see you on a commercial, they see you in a movie, they're like, they don't understand all the pieces that go into that, like the thousands of people and jobs that go into this project and trailer I'm watching right now. It's super, I mean, there's so much complexity to it. You get a respect for not only the craft, but then you also get a respect for every person that's been involved, that's at least tried, on that stage. So kudos.
That's so true.
And keep writing stuff. If you need anybody, like I said, let me know. I'm in there. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll definitely let you know. It's been, I had a lot of ups and downs with the writing. I when I moved out, it was to LA. Right off the bat, I had some luck. I don't even want to say luck, but it was just great things happening, and one of the first things that happened was Will Smith's company, Overbrook,
Okay.
an interest in this screenplay that I wrote with my then writing partner. And they optioned it, and we were going into development and everything. And I was really excited. And they were trying to get Morgan Creek Entertainment. I don't even know if that exists anymore, but Morgan Creek Entertainment who at the time they had a first look deal with, and they were trying to get them to front the money and the funding. But then in the trades, we started hearing about Chris Rock having this remake of Down to Earth, the Warren Beatty movie about a guardian angel, about an angel, a man who goes and gets one more chance after dying to do things right. And our script just happened to be about an angel where the main character was black, which is the same thing with Chris Rock's movie. Okay. And you know how it is in Hollywood, where if something's even remotely similar, they say, "Oh, we can't do that movie. There's another movie like that out there." There was nothing similar about our two projects. It was almost as if someone tried to compare Star Wars to Star Trek.
Yeah.
Space sagas were completely different.
If you watch both, you understand the difference.
Yeah. So it killed our project in the water, and I was pissed. But then as time went on, I was in LA for 24 years. I had little bits and pieces here and there work out. Development deals, option deals. The closest I ever got was this company called the Yari Group. They got us funding. They were going to produce it. Yari was associated with the Weinstein Company at the time.
Okay.
And we cast the movie, everything. I wrote it with my writing partner who I spoke about earlier, and another friend who played Lex Luthor on Smallville, Michael Rosenbaum.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So the three of us wrote it. He was going to star in it, and it was also starring John Heder, who played Napoleon Dynamite, Dule Hill, Colin Hanks, Tom Hanks' son, Nick Swartzen, who's a comedian, who's a bunch of Adam Sandler stuff. We had a good cast, a great cast. And we did a table read. We, like I said, cast it.
Everything's moving.
Everything's moving. Everything's moving. We were 2 weeks out of principal photography. And I'll never forget, we were sitting, I think this was 2010. And we were sitting around hanging out with James Gunn. And he basically goes, "Who's funding it?" And we said, he's like, "Oh, so independent, right?" We said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Okay. Just be prepared. Independent movies fall apart all the time. So be prepared for it to fall apart before it comes together." And I remember Rosenbaum and I are both
looking like,
"Man, no, the money's there.
We good. We're good.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. We're shooting in 2 weeks." He said, "I know, but just trust me, independent filmmaking is not for the faint of heart. Just be prepared." Okay. And then that weekend, we were at Jason Reitman's house, who did Juno and, So we're hanging out with him, and he basically tells us, he said the same thing, basically. And our response was still the same. We said, "We've heard about these shows, but we're good.
Breaks, we're good. Yep.
We're good." Yeah, and he even told us a story about a friend of his. I don't think it was him, but a friend of his was a week in the principal photography. He was shooting in Israel, and the money fell through. It was so bad that the cast and crew had to find their own way home from Israel.
Messed up.
And I said, "That's scary, but
yeah, we're good. Yeah,
we're good." And then, so 2 weeks out of principal photography, Rosenbaum goes ahead of me. I was going to meet him. He's in Pittsburgh where we're going to shoot the movie. And he calls me from his hotel room, and he's devastated. I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "Man, the money's gone." I said, "What?" He said, "The money's gone." I said, "No." Yeah, and I was so disappointed. And we were embarrassed. We had to call the cast. Thankfully, they were all cool. All of them were like, "Oh, we've had this happen to us so many times." It's Hollywood, right? But we still were so embarrassed. And I ended up taking a break from writing for years because I was so devastated. My mom had just passed away 2 years prior.
Sorry to hear
I was tired of getting carrots in my face and it taken away from me. I was tired of Hollywood being so precarious or things being all talk. And I was over it. So I actually quit. I actually stopped cold turkey and quit. Wow. Yeah. And then there was a security guard who worked at the lot that I was producing the show at. He was in his 60s, and we would always talk writing. And about a couple weeks, 3 weeks after I quit, I ran into him, and he was in a button down. He said, "Hey, I just came from a meeting. You'll never believe it. I just sold a screenplay." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah." And Robert Redford's attached to it. I said, "That's amazing." And he goes, "See, you got to keep at it. You got to keep at it. Don't ever give up." And I said, "Well,
in his 60s, he's still working."
Yeah. And the funny thing is, in my head, and this is obviously I was much younger, I remember thinking silently, I don't want to be 60 and still trying to do this.
Yeah.
That was my train of thought, which was terrible. And so when he said, don't give up, I said, well, it's funny you said that because I just decided I'm done writing. I don't want to do this anymore. He said, what? Why? And I explained what happened with the movie, that all the funding fell through and how I was just tired of, everything just being so unstable in Hollywood. And he goes, man, don't give up. He goes, look, take a break. Even if it's a month,
Yep.
a year, hell, 10 years. Take as long as you want. Just don't give up.
Yep.
And that's exactly what I did. I took not even a conscious decision to take a break. I just stopped. And it was 10 years before I started writing again. And when I started writing again, it was 2019. It's been nonstop. And it's been great.
Wow.
And we can get into that. It's been fantastic. It's been phenomenal. I got some irons in the fire. Things are going. All these new ideas. It's great.
Well, the main thing is like he said, you didn't stop, and we don't know how much time we have, but I mean, you utilize the time that you have, and that's a craft, it's an art form, and it's a gift that you're given. Because if it wasn't, you wouldn't even be in these arenas. You know what I mean? That's the other thing. I was on a shoot the other day. I think I posted it. Can't really talk too much about it, but I posted it as in a commercial for New Era. But on the set, you have different range of actors that are starting, some are more veteran. I was typically one of the older guys. And they were asking me, when did you start? I said, it was 2008. They said, well, blah, blah, blah. The whole process of being on different projects. And part of it is just, you have to be consistent, I hear so many stories, all these different, lifestyles, and you kind of put yourself in a bucket. Who'd you work with? What'd you do? What'd you accomplish? But it's all an accomplishment if you're working in your field that you love to do and you're getting paid for it. I mean, whether it's $10 to $50,000, millions of dollars, it doesn't matter. You're doing what you love to do, and you're getting paid to do it. I mean, like that's the mentality that I tell all the younger guys. Like, just stay at it. You don't know where you're gonna land, and if you just stop, you're gonna not have anything if you stop.
Yeah, and that's so true, especially if you're doing something, writing, for example, right? If you constantly write, and I've seen this play out 1,000 times. The first manager I had even told me this when our first thing fell through. He said, just keep writing, keep the ideas going. Because what's going to happen is you're going to end up having this giant catalog. So when that one thing sells, the first question they're going to ask you, and even before it sells, they're going to ask you, what else do you have? And if you do sell something, the world is just going to open up for you. And I've seen that happen 8,000 times. I'm not name dropping by any means, but do you know who Eli Roth is?
Of course.
Okay. So Eli's a friend of mine, and we all used to hang out back in the day, and I'll never forget when he shot Cabin Fever.
Yeah.
And
that was a good movie.
yeah. And here's the funny thing: at the time when he shot it, it was basically, I don't know what he shot it on, but it looked like he shot it with a camcorder. Very simple. We just watched it for fun and laughs. We thought it was a weird, surreal movie. He's a weird, surreal guy. And we just had fun watching it. We would watch it at our friend Stacy's house, and it'll be a group of us just laughing. This movie's crazy. So then the Toronto Film Festival happened. And mind you, this was pre-social media, so we had to rely on mass emails.
Mass emails,
Yeah. So
a lot of younger actors, we didn't have any of that stuff where you could just get on Instagram and all of a sudden you're a celebrity. It's like, you got to work, but
yeah. And he was his mentor was David Lynch, and David put some things and got Cabin Fever into the Toronto Film Festival. That alone excited us. I remember us thinking, wait, what?
Yeah.
No offense to it, but I just remember thinking, wait, that was shot so bare bones. That got to the Toronto Film Festival? What prize are we going for? Is this, I was so confused. So he would update all the friends on a mass email. Hey guys, I'm at the Toronto Film Festival. It's cool. This is such an experience. It's cool. Next day, I'm really excited. So I'm going to have my screening. It's not in the big theater, but I think it's going to be a good turnout. People are curious about it. David pulled some strings. People are going to show up. Okay. So then the next morning he emails everyone. He goes, guys, this is insane. It's nuts. I got a standing ovation at the end of it.
See?
Did they see Cabin Fever?
Yeah, this is the same movie I watched.
Yeah, that wasn't Citizen Kane. I'm confused. And then he wrote back later on in the day and said, hey, apparently there's a bidding war for a video, not even video on demand, just home video, I guess what they called it then still, for for all the major studios, their home video companies, they wanna buy it. Okay, this is crazy. This is crazy. So then he told us he left with a Lionsgate deal, and it was going to be straight to home video. And about a week later, he emails us again and basically says, "Hey, Lionsgate is really excited about the press this got at the festival, that they're going to release this theatrically, and they're going to give me some money to go back and shoot some more scenes, and then also sweeten some of the other ones in the editing." I said, okay. Coincidentally, I was working at CNN at the time, and he was in an editing suite at the bottom of our building in LA. So I would drop in and see him.
Check on him.
Yeah. And then I remember one day, the movie came out, did well, this and that. One day I'm walking down the street visiting another friend. And Eli always drove this 1987 black rusted Saab with the ignition where the armrest was. Saab used to do.
Yeah.
That's what he drove. It was an ugly car. And one day I'm walking down the street, and this BMW pulls up, almost hits the curb. How was that?
What's this? Yeah.
Rolls down the window, and it's Eli. He's like, "Yo, Chris, hey, what's going on?" I said, "Damn,
Eli living good now." Yep.
I was like, "You got a new car? What's going on?" He said, "Man, it's great, man. So ever since Canada, they're just buying up all my stuff, all the stories that I had." So it goes back to what I was saying, what my manager said, and what you said. Just keep going, keep going. Yeah. So all the stuff I had in the bag, they just sold. And I forgot I had a pitch meeting with Warner Brothers this morning, and I'm on my way there because my manager tells me you have a pitch meeting, and I'm panicking, thinking I have nothing to pitch. So I just made up this stupid teen horror comedy on the way there, and they bought it in the room. I said, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, man, I gotta go. It's true what they say. When you get on the other side, they just buy your stuff." He peeled out. He said, "See you later."
Yeah, see you later.
Yeah. And I remember thinking, damn, one of these days. So yes, that's why once I returned to doing it, I just keep doing it and doing it. I have a back catalog, which maybe only 2 of those I'm comfortable bringing forward and working on again. But all the new stuff I'm doing is just, it's great. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, man. The reality is I always feel, I don't know your belief system and everything, but I believe in God. So I always look at there is a reason why you have that gift, and it's up to you to utilize it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Your mind with, for instance, I remember, I think it was Steve Harvey said it. It's like when you have a thought, that's a thought that God gives you. That thought is different than anybody else. But you have to utilize that thought and then put it into action. And not all those thoughts are going to work out. But if you don't put them into action, they're not going to work out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The end result if you don't do anything. It's okay, it's not going to happen if it just stays up here. So all the creators, everyone that I'm involved in, I just say just figure it out. Put it to work. If you want a movie, if you want a book written, an image drawn, something, just constantly keep honing your craft, keep working at your craft, and it will happen. Something will happen. It's not it depending on the level of wherever you feel like your success is, but something will happen. And
something will happen. And worst case scenario, if it doesn't, I hope you had fun doing it.
Yeah, you had fun. You enjoyed your life. You know what I mean? You enjoyed it.
It is so true. I mean, if you're gonna do something that's your craft, I really hope, and this is something I tell, if any young people ever ask me advice about their craft, I always say, do you enjoy it? I always ask first and foremost. Thankfully, in almost every case, they say they do. And I say, great, because the world may not ever see it, but if you enjoy it, at the least, you have fun doing it, right?
Yeah, you enjoyed it.
Yeah, you enjoyed it.
And probably your circle around you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I within that question, who was a role model that you had when you were coming up? And then people that you have now. I know, people will know from this interview and probably known from other interviews, a lot of people across the board in Hollywood. One is on in the spotlight now, James Gunn. So I would say he's getting both ends because of the dynamics and with Superman. But I've always looked at James Gunn as he's a director that has a very wide span of creativity, and for some reason he's able to combine a lot of different things all in one. And it's a cautious thing. Even right now, I watched that trailer, which you're in a couple of times. You're in the ship. I saw you in the ship too. I saw that trailer, and up to that point, I was like, "Oh, Superman looks pretty cool. Like it's different. He's going a different direction." This trailer, and I've heard this on multiple different occasions. This one kind of like encompassed everything.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't like sold; you were like instantly sold now.
Mm-hmm.
But across the board, like role models that you came up with that kind of give you some more direction and mentorship, whether a particular role model or multiple role models that you can think that like helped you get.
Yeah, definitely my mom.
Okay.
For
Always mom.
She, like many moms, basically made me feel good about whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
And always praised me for my hard work, always reminded me to work hard, always kept me on the straight and narrow. You know, I had two little brothers who were kind of an experiment for her. And they got in trouble a lot.
Yeah.
And as
That's
the
rough.
youngest,
3 boys? That's rough.
yeah,
That's rough.
yeah. And as the youngest, I would watch them and think, I don't want that punishment, or I don't want to disappoint my parents doing that. So I was very observant, and I wouldn't do it again. But my mom also, she made sure that I wouldn't repeat their mistakes
Awesome.
without casting dispersion on them, right? Just
Mom.
yeah, she'd be really level-headed with me, saying, "Hey, you see what they did? Do not do that." And I was always impressed with her, no matter where we lived, in what country, what state, wherever we went, everyone knew my mom. Just everyone, you know, she just was that person who would fill a room with energy. She was very empathetic. She let people talk. She let herself be heard. Just the way she moved about life. I always looked up to her. You know, people were looking up to celebrities and so on, and professionals, and you name it. And at the time coming up, she was someone I definitely looked up to. And then, you know, there were, you know, celebs and career people who I paid attention to. My brothers and I were obsessed with Bruce Lee. I feel that there's not a single. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. And I definitely feel like there isn't a single Gen X boy who didn't. If I meet a Gen X boy who didn't like Bruce, says, "Oh, I don't care about Bruce Lee," then they're suspicious.
It's like quick.
Yeah. I don't know. Who
Like,
you
all
are.
right, bro. All right. Okay.
Yeah. So I read so many books on Bruce Lee. I followed his writings, his teachings. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. I really looked up to that guy.
Yeah.
And he was a class act, and you know, he had his temper, but I just loved his train of thought. So that was definitely somebody. Once I started working, my whole thing was everyone kind of became a mentor for me.
Yeah.
Anyone who succeeded on any level, whether it was major success, minor success, if they were in the industry before me, I paid close attention. I would ask them questions without bugging them. And mostly I would just observe and see how they did things. I was really curious, especially if someone was in a medium for so long. It fascinated me thinking, wow, you've been doing this for 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, whether they knew it or not, folks like that, they were kind of a mentor to me. You know, even to this day, I always make it a point to tell people to find mentors and younger people too. You know,
Yeah.
people,
That's a common misconception, right? Mentors, like, they gotta be older.
yeah,
You can learn a lot of stuff if you're open-minded to a younger person, because they're in tune with like the current stuff. You know what I mean? So
oh yeah, that's a big one for me. I pay attention, pick the brain, especially if you come fresh out of college, forget about it.
Yeah.
I'm in your face, just finding out how you see life. What did you just learn in school? Because things are always changing. How do you view the world? What do you want to do? You know what I mean? And
then you can give them wisdom too.
Yeah.
So, like that's the plus of a younger person. It's like you can ask them, and they're open to be like, oh, you want to know about me? It's like, yeah, I want to know. And then they're gonna use that experience to be like, well, you know how to do this, and you have life. You know, you don't get wisdom through just being born and just try. You have to live a long time to get wisdom. So you get something back as well. You become a mentor, and you have a mentor with
that is so true. Yeah.
I mean, with anybody, but a lot of young people. So
Yeah, so many. And since you mentioned James, you know, it took me a minute to categorize him as a sort of a mentor, and it was more so when we did Superman, because again, I've known him for 20 years, and he was a friend first. I mean, still a friend, but he was a friend first.
Yep.
The time I met him, what he had under his belt was Slither, which is kind of a campy campy film.
Interesting movie.
Interesting movie, yeah. And if you ask the average person, they hadn't seen it. You know, it's a cult hit.
Yep.
And he was a dime a dozen, and he was everybody, I should say, in LA. Because if you live in LA, you work in the industry, everyone was making a film. Everyone had a film. Everyone, all your friends at some point, right? So it was nothing. It was nothing fascinating, but it wasn't. Not that it lacked fascination, but it wasn't anything.
Yeah. Like, oh my God. Oh my God. It's like, the guy here, he's done a movie, he's producer.
Yeah. He was just another friend. But so, and I told this story because when we were shooting Superman, every night we would go out as a cast and have dinner. Every night. And we would talk about life and everything and talk about how we know each other or who we worked with. So when I told this story to the cast about James, this was, I'm going to say, maybe 2005. My then writing partner, who I referenced before, our manager wanted to get us on a project. Okay. So would you guys be into writing other people's projects? Not that your guys' aren't good, but sometimes when things are already sold, whether it's a concept or an idea, they want to attach young writers to it. And I forget what the list is called, but it's a list that I think all the agencies at the time would have it. But in particular, this was at CAA, and there was a name for this giant list. The giant list, they had all the projects that were sold, whether there was a script involved, whether it was just an idea, whatever. And it was a roadmap for the next 20 years of this is what's in the pipeline, and this is what's going to get made, and so on. This is our wish list of actors. This is our wish list of producers, wish list of directors, and so on. And we were to just go through and look at log lines and pitches that were sold that didn't necessarily have a script, or ones that had a script and wanted a punch up or a rewrite. But I was fascinated with this list because all these, now mind you, this is before Marvel. Marvel Universe or anything. So it had a roadmap, and I remember looking at it thinking, they're gonna make a Thor movie? What? That's random. I remember literally saying that to myself. Iron Man? What? Okay, they're making another Godzilla, and I remember laughing because they were making the Transformers movie, thinking, is the technology even there to make
there yet? Yeah, Michael Bay.
So right. And I was going through this roadmap list for the next 15, 20 years. And I noticed that if there was anything, and it had a budget attached to it too, a potential budget for each of these films. So I was looking at all the blockbuster films and all the ones that had $2 million plus budgets, and seeing that any big major action, comic oriented, you name it, epic, adventurous film, if you looked at directors, they had a list of all the directors they went to, and with each person they give notes of what that person feels. And I noticed James was on every blockbuster project. Now, mind you, again, at this point, he just had really Slither.
Yeah, but they could see it. They already knew. Like,
they saw something.
I got it. Yeah,
something I didn't know.
Yep.
And I remember thinking, oh, there's no way this list is true, because beside his name on in every situation, it said he passed, he passed, not interested. And I'm thinking, okay, this guy he's doing.
It's a little different when you say no to people. It's like, what?
Yeah,
it's like, like a job. Yes, I'll take it.
Yeah. So I saw him that weekend. I said, hey, James, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up. But you ever heard of and I can't remember the name of the list, but I mentioned it. He said, no, I don't know what that is. And I explained to him, what the list was and what it encompassed. And I said, hey, you may want to check with your agent, because they're making stuff up about you. They're saying that they want you to be attached to all these crazy blockbuster films that they're going to do, but you said no to each one. So I don't know, man. They're freaking slandering you out there, because I imagine you're not saying no to these big opportunities. And he goes, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of offers. And I said no to all of them.
What?
And I said, wait, what are you talking? Why'd you say no? And I'll never forget it. He goes, I know what my vision is, and I know that if I'm going to do something, I just can't direct the film. It's got to be something I've written. It's got to be something I'm producing. I got to be in the
You got to
cast.
be in it. Yeah, you got to be in it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's got to be, I got to have my hands on everything. And I swear to you, I remember thinking, I didn't say it out loud to him, but I did say it out loud when I told this story to the cast and to him. I remember thinking, oh, this guy's never going to work in this town ever again. I said, he's going
Because of
to
that.
ruin his career.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And now he's heading up
Yeah.
DC. And you look back when you hear that story and you think, wow, this guy had a vision. He had a plan. He knew exactly what he wanted. He didn't just take anything. He said no for things that didn't work for him. And look where he is now. So as I was shooting Superman, and again, I observed a lot. You better believe on set, I was just watching everyone.
Yeah, watching how people move. Yep.
Yeah, everything. And I was so impressed for the first time seeing him work, especially at something so big, right? And him, the executive producer, sitting around at night and listening to their conversations. You better believe I was asking them questions. I felt like I got a master class in producing and filmmaking.
I mean, that's how it is.
Yeah.
On any of those sets, I remember I was with I worked on a show called Show Me a Hero, and Oscar Isaac and what's his name? A couple other Winona Ryder was in it, but there was a moment when you saw how complex something so simple looked on film, but how in depth the directors and the producers were like involved in that one particular aspect of it. And I remember seeing that, as you know, I was just an actor, but I was like, okay, that's like, I never really thought about filmmaking, but like when they see a vision, it has to be theirs. And that's what it kind of seems like with James. It has to be like his vision. And for the most part, especially with Superman, I could definitely see him all over this versus like the other renditions of characters and movies. And as things are like coming together, there's more and more of like his DNA in this stuff. And it's like I remember them saying it's one or the other. He goes all in, he pushes all his chips in for his projects. He doesn't hold anything back. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And that's like a gutsy thing to do from any person in that place. So I give kudos to anyone that does that, especially if he's been that way. You're saying he's been that way from the beginning. It isn't something he's just based on money. It's just like, this is what I am. This is how I'm going to do my project, and that's it. So, yeah.
And I'm telling you, it says a lot about a person. It says a lot when you see them succeed, staying the course, and understanding the assignment for themselves.
Yeah.
Knowing that, yeah, there are going to be some risk in saying no to these big opportunities. But man, it works for him.
You got to think maybe that was the reason why he got yeses on the others, because he's like, he doesn't just take anything. So if he does take it, it's got to be something, and then the outcome is what it is. So
exactly, yeah.
So you know, going right into Superman, I think that's probably out of the other projects that you've worked on. Like I remember seeing you worked on Kelly Clarkson's show, Arsenio Hall, that kind of stuff. When it's on TV, is there a different scope and feeling versus like a film like Superman? Like,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because those examples you gave are talk TV. I guess the similar thing is it takes a lot of people to make this one thing work. You know, I'm always amazed when I think of the showrunners that I've worked with in these shows, how they have to balance every department. They have to be in every meeting. They have to literally have their eyes and ears to the ground. Everything that makes that production. And I'm always so impressed with that. Whereas me, I just have my department. So for Arsenio and for Kelly, I'm still at Kelly. I do my specialty throughout the years has been booking music.
Okay.
Right? Booking music performances on the show and interviews and other types of things. And I've worked on podcasts and shows where I do other types of guests. But historically, most of the talent that I've worked with have been musicians, and which has been great because I've worked with, you name it, every major musician you could think of. Whether a lot of them, especially a lot of the ones who are hot now, I've worked with them during the beginning of their career. Some of them
and that caters to their career too. It's like, okay, already got, oh, you on Kelly Clarkson? Okay, cool.
Yeah. So that's it's still a well-oiled machine with these productions where one person is helming everything and you have these different departments coming together to make one entity. So that's how it's similar with Superman. And the difference is obviously one's film and one's talk TV, but also just the magnitude of a set like Superman. I'd been to TV show sets. I've been to several movie sets, but nothing this big. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy just to go to home base and to see all the trucks and all the trailers, and then to get in the golf cart and for them to drive you to set and just to see.
You're like, wait, what?
Yeah,
you're like flying all over. I think he did the snow where Alaska or something like that.
It was up in it was the North Pole.
Okay,
but I want to say they were in either Finland or Norway.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was one of the, it was nuts. And they just really, really go all out. And just to see just how impressive everything is and the detail.
Yeah. It's like there's so many different aspects. Like I said, we're talking, I had the trailer running. There's so many different aspects of the visuals. And I'd like to, pick people's minds on the scale of other projects that either were like it, or you give credit to something at this level, because this hasn't even come out yet, and you get the criticisms, obviously, because he's one of the biggest characters in the world, but then also because James attached to it, and then the comparison of like the old DC versus the new DC and what so a lot of the actors that are part of it, I don't know how in depth they are in terms of like comic books. I keep seeing you on the in the Daily Planet part. So keep looking up, it's there. When you're a comic book fan, I'm a comic book fan. I grew up reading comics. So when you're seeing Superman and like the Man of Steel and TV shows, but then you're watching something like this, it's literally like he took the comic book and put everything, that all these different aspects, and then he made it work. That's why I'm saying he's very, very far in between in terms of a director that's able to do that. Even me watching, like you have the Michael Bays, obviously Steven Spielberg, James Cameron, these types of levels where they could do something like that. But James is very unique because he's able to, like, and maybe that's a cornerstone of his career, but like take a lot of things that people aren't paying attention to and put it together and make something really, really unique.
Yeah, he is definitely really great at that. And he writes so fast. He just churns everything out. Peacemaker, for example, he writes all the episodes.
Something that nobody paid attention to, and I was even looking at like, he's making a film.
We haven't always been great people.
I think it's the best.
We are the 11th Street Kids.
So
no one will ever break us apart.
Yeah, he has his hands in everything. Kind of reminds me of Matthew Very, very hands-on.
You ready for the next adventure, pal?
Keep on. Yeah, and you can see the detail, the attention to detail on set. He has a no asshole policy. I would say about 78% of the crew worked with him on his other projects.
Okay.
And the small percentage of people who didn't, they either couldn't get on this project because their schedules clashed with another thing that they're working with, or even smaller percentage, they were assholes. That simple. But to work with 78% of the people who work with you on another project says a lot.
Crazy.
The ethos and the culture that you've created, and he's created an amazing culture in his production. And just to talk to, I had fun talking to the crew and just hearing about their other projects and hearing how it is to work with James and for James. And they don't sugarcoat anything. They will say, yeah, he can be really, really tough, but no matter how tough he is on you, when it's all over, you think, I'm glad.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Because this is a good product. Yeah.
Well, I know that like typically because of all the scale and everything on TV, but my main focus is you as an actor. Because I saw you in the trailer and I was like, oh, maybe he might want to be on the show. I like to pick his mind, get some insight. But like for you being a part of that, how is it? And how was that character? Was it like research that you did for that character? Was it something that stands, across the board with other projects you work with? Like for you, because obviously you can talk about James, and I don't mean to step aside, but I mean he's already got his stuff, and I'm focusing on like what is your forte to play that role?
Yeah, you know, if you talk to any of the cast members, we all say the same thing, that there was a responsibility to honor the role, right?
Yeah.
To make sure that we weren't messing with comic fans. As you know, comic fans take that stuff very, very seriously.
Very, very fickle and difficult audience.
Yeah, they will take you down if you don't do right by a character. So for me, I had 6 months to be ready, right? To read up everything I could. And and I knew that I wasn't going to be a heavy presence in the film. I was the last cast member to be added, right?
Okay.
Very last. And
Still in there though. No matter.
Yeah. And the whole, and even up front, I was told that I was going to be kind of what we call in Star Trek a red shirt without a tie, right? Where there was gonna be Captain Kirk, Captain Spock, Doc, you know what I mean? And there's that red shirt dude who's always there. And if they go to a planet,
He's gonna be there. Yeah. If he goes off, he might get done.
Yeah. And they kind of explained it to me that way, a red shirt. And I said, am I gonna die? They said, don't worry, no, it's not that. But to give you, just to give you an analogy, I said, okay. So that's how it evolved. So I knew I didn't have to do, not that I was being lazy about it, because I wasn't by any means, but I knew I didn't have to prep like the other actors had to prep, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't much for me. Now it evolved once I started shooting, as these things do.
Yeah.
And I have to, for example, thank Beck Bennett for it, who plays Steve Lombard. Because he comes from Saturday Night Live, he comes from improv comedy, and he's really, really good at taking any situation that he's in and amplifying it without stepping on James's toes or scripts. You know what I mean? Because James, one thing I know about him is he'll write something and you can, do what you can, but don't.
Yeah.
Because I know he gets really sensitive. I mean, a lot of directors do, right? And writers. But Beck was really good at it. And I think it was one of those things where I was never bored in the film, never, because I remember James would even ask me, because like I said, I was just there with you know what I mean?
Okay,
yeah. He's dressed as Ron Troop and he's there. But then Beck would, most of my stuff is with him and Michaela, who plays Cat Grant. And it just turned into this thing where he would just add one little slight element or do something where he'll look at me a certain way and it would cause me to react a different way. And suddenly James just goes, okay, let's do that.
I need that. Yeah.
Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way.
Yep.
I will say without, just to cut it real quick, is this coming out after the movie comes out?
I'm trying to put it out before.
How much before?
But yeah, you don't have to give any spoilers.
Okay.
I know.
I wasn't going to give any spoilers, but I guess. All right. So, this isn't really spoiling anything, but as you know, this is typical in movies.
I'm waiting like this.
Where you could shoot a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And then they have test screenings, they have editing, they have the time cut, they have the tone cut, they have, all these different things and all these different edits. And you just hope, especially if you're a small character, you hope, please don't cut my shit.
Yeah.
You just hope. And too,
it can happen. You're like, but I was there. I got there.
Yeah, and especially if you're a small character, they got to cut somewhere, and they're not going to cut Superman, right? Yeah. Remember, okay, how do we save on time? Oh yeah, Ron Troop. that 1 6 minute scene.
Yeah. That's out of here. Nah.
Yeah. Just how it goes, and even going into it, right? I was very cognizant, not just of other films doing this, but James, right? Because James he's a businessman, and he takes great notes from the studio and everything, and people. He doesn't. His feelings don't get involved. Bless him, right? So I knew that going. For example, my friend Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor in Smallville, he's in Guardians 2 and 3. Character's name, but he's that crystal guy.
Yeah. They were saying like he was in it. Yeah, I remember watching like a clip of his show, and he was like, "Yeah, most people they didn't realize that was me because of the makeup."
Yeah, and he doesn't really say much. He doesn't say anything about it. And Sylvester Stallone, I think, only says
he's only a couple of lines.
Yeah, and they had shot healthy, right? Healthy, but then final cut, like, oh crap. And then Nathan, he had a big part of in 2.
I
He came
think,
back
yeah, he was in. I
in 3.
think he was in 2 and 3.
Yeah,
I
and
think
he
he was
came
in
back
two
in
and three. I
3.
remember he played that guy with the suit,
Yes.
the big suit. Yeah.
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 So 3 it was a little meatier, but
Mm.
2 pretty much sliced. So my whole thing was, if you can cut Nathan Fillion,
Mm.
Michael Rosenbaum, and Sylvester Stallone,
Yeah.
then
I'm out of here.
So
Wow.
I went into this movie very aware,
Yeah.
very aware. But even then, right? It still gets you when you a purpose about saying I'm extremely excited. I'm in this. I'm very happy. I'm over the moon. Never would have imagined
Yeah.
being a project like this. But it'd be silly for me to say, oh man, there's 2 scenes in particular that we did that were not. So 99% of my lines are in these 2 scenes.
Yeah.
And there's the original trio of the Daily Planet, and that's Clark, Lois, and Jimmy. And that's what they call the secondary trio of the Daily Planet, and that's Kat, Steve, and Ron.
Okay.
Steve is, he's kind of an adversary to Clark because always making fun of Clark, this and that, blah, blah. He's a bully, and he's a sexist pig. He flirts with anything that moves. That's a woman. That's just weird.
That's the
right?
character. Yeah.
Yeah. Kat's gossipy, sultry, and everything, and is sick of Steve because he's always advancing.
Yeah, he's always trying to do somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Ron's very straight edge, political, bookworm, does everything by the book. So the balance between the 3 can make for a very, very fun and funny dynamic.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
I mean, because even when I saw you in the cast, I was like, well, where does he overlap into their other characters? And I'm assuming that it's like you guys are competing for stories, kind of thing. Like he's the Clark, Kat's the Lois, and you're the Jimmy. So it's kind of like who's the better of the 3.
Yeah, and we're almost 3 Stooges. Also, if that's making that into an adjective, 3 Stooges, ist as an ist, and we, but there's they had to make some cuts, and like I said, I'm still in the movie, I'm still here,
Yeah.
pepper throughout, but not to give too much away, but hopefully there's a director's cut because there is a really meaty, fun stuff. But it's a big movie. It's a lot of people enjoying it so much. Now there's always hopefully the director's cut, and there's always the sequels. So the cool thing is the Daily Planet is the mainstay in Clark's life. So we're all aware of it. Not to get too much into the future planning of everything, but I'll just say, in a nutshell, excited to be in a movie, and I'm excited for the future.
I got a little bit, and most people that are watching, if they hear what you said, there is at least a 99% chance, I'm not gonna say 100%, that Ron survives. So at least then I know you didn't get off to the first one. So James, just keep Ron going. You can have that as a spinoff or something.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, even from an actor's perspective, how much goes into even the slightest amount of lines, the one scene. So if you're in it from the beginning to the end, and the director says, "Oh, well, we had to cut this," that doesn't, like, in my mind, it's like you did the work. You had to do it, and I don't think any director, from any perspective, because I've been on that end as well, wants to look at all their stuff they did and say, "Yeah, I never liked that scene."
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? They always are like, "I gotta cut something." Like, but it's never like, why did I make that part? Like, skip that out. Like, It's always something like that. So that gives, credit to the people that are part of it. And like you said, there was meaty parts that he probably was like, yeah, I'm going to leave that in the credit. He obviously saw certain scenes. And like I said, you're in the first trailer. I saw that they had the Daily Planet. I saw you in that scene. And then I saw in the newer one, the last trailer I'm watching now, you're in the ship. And I remember when they had like the behind the scenes are like, I don't know if it's either when you guys landed or when you take off, but it's like in the middle of Metropolis, and you're in the T ship, I guess it's called.
Yeah. Yeah, that day was magical because we shot the Daily Planet crew
Mm.
shot the interior of the Daily Planet in Macon. They
Okay.
found this old office building that was so majestic. I mean, I didn't want to see anything. They said, "You want to see photos of the Daily Planet?" Because we were there a whole week before we started shooting, because they were shooting a lot of the desert stuff.
Okay.
I was supposed to be shot in Santa Fe, but they found a rock quarry not too far from where they were shooting the Daily Planet.
Mm.
They said, "Oh, we can shoot everything
All in the
in
round.
the same vicinity." Yeah. So I would go to the rock quarry and see Nathan's stuff, which was really cool to see. And the kid raising the flag. That was my
That's
first
dope.
day on
Yeah.
set.
Yeah.
That kid raising the flag. It was 110 degrees that day.
Oh, wow.
But I was in the air conditioning tent with James, watching the monitor, watching that kid raise the flag. And I remember when he was done shooting, I saw him walking back they had a little holding tent for the kid and his family. And I went over to the kid and was like, "Man, you're amazing, man. You're amazing." And that's so funny because he was like, and he walked.
He could have stunned you real quick. Yeah, you know, right. You know I'm right.
Yeah,
He's gonna be a star. See,
Yeah,
look,
exactly. But he
in
was
20
great,
years,
man.
you're gonna see him.
Yeah.
I
But it
know.
was so cool to see that. But all the Daily Planet stuff was in this office, and we, for the most part, the Daily Planet crew, we would see each other every day for the 2 weeks that we were shooting in Macon, and we kind of overlapped with the Justice Gang because they were shooting in the rock quarry.
Okay.
So when we would have these dinners, it would be the Daily Planet cast, James, and then of course the Justice Gang, Nathan, Anthony, and Isabella.
Yeah.
So we would just have.
I mean,
dinner.
that Anthony really does well in this movie, and that's a character that a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
He was in a couple of the animated shows, but Mr. Terrific is no joke. I mean, even like from a comic book fan, he's no joke.
Yeah.
You know, and I when he got cast, I was like, oh, he fits the role, and he was already an X-Men and all that other stuff. So I was like, he was a good pick. I think when I saw him get picked or cast, I was like, okay, I kind of understand where they're going with this. You know, physicality, skill set, and then the character itself, Mr. Terrific. And I was like, the only thing I was like, well, they better not mess up that outfit, like the uniform, because his is very unique because of the mask that has, like on his face without the ears and things. So that was pretty cool. But
Yeah. So we only would see them, and I would see the Daily Planet folks, and then Ma and Pa Kent. They found a house not too far from where we shot, so they would be there too.
Okay.
And of course David as Clark Kent.
yeah,
But we hadn't met some of the other cast members yet, like Lex and Gabby, who plays the engineer.
yeah.
Some of those Miss Tessmacher. We hadn't eloped with them. So then we also shot in Atlanta in a soundstage where the T ship was shot, and that was again just the Daily Planet crew. But it wasn't until we went to Cleveland, that street scene that you referenced of us coming out, the paparazzi shots that they got. So we shot in Cleveland, and that is the big final scene. So there's it's a big mesh of all the characters coming together.
Cool.
Right?
Cool.
So home base, our trailers. Since we were shooting in the city streets, there wasn't enough room to create home base. So they found this big parking lot 2 miles away where our trailers were. And this was a unique situation. Instead of a golf cart taking us to set, we had to get in the bus and leave our stuff in our trailers all day to go to set. So as a result, they kept us in this giant holding room with just us and the cast.
Okay.
So this was for the first time us finally meeting some of the other
Everybody, and you're like, oh, I saw, yeah.
yeah, like, hey, what's up, man? They're hanging out in this big holding room. And the magical thing that happened, I'll never forget it. We had been working with David Clark, for 2 weeks in Macon. So he was Clark, right?
Yeah,
We'd gotten so used to him being Clark.
How is he on set? I've only seen him in a couple of. I saw him in Twisters. So I don't have a lot of portfolio on him. Even when he got cast, I was like, he looks the part. Like he got the dimensions and everything, and then we were trying to figure out how he was going to look. The uniform, how he's going to sound. Is he going to be his temperaments? How is he going to be different? But like, how is he as an actor, like a person? Like,
he is. He is everything you would imagine and more, right? He's classically trained. and you could see that. You could see him. You could see that in his acting.
Okay.
He, you know, at least when we're shooting in Macon, he would go to the trailers and say goodbye to everybody with his dog, you know, which is cool. You know, he was definitely being the leader, right?
That guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he was being that dude. He was the very first. When I first went to set, I was feeling like an imposter because this is my first time being in a film of this magnitude. I've done short films, minor films, but nothing like this, right? Nothing that credited. And I felt like an imposter because everyone had great credits under their belt, everybody. And here I am coming in feeling like I didn't belong. I'm the one person, you know.
No matter. You made it. You in there.
Yeah. I was like, I'm here, but I don't have any credits.
Yeah. Looking around.
So when they called me for my trailer to go to the makeup trailer, I remember thinking, okay, what trailer am I in? I don't see any of the cast members. This must be the trailer for The Rejects. I swear to God, that's what I thought. I said, this is, yeah. And I looked next to me and I figured, oh, that must be a stunt dude because I don't know who that is. And I don't, where did they take Michaela or where did they take Rachel? But little did I know that, again, this is me being a novice, that they were in the hair trailer. And I was in the makeup trailer, but I just assumed I'm in the Reject trailer.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there next to this giant stunt man, thinking I'm in the Reject trailer. And I can't see this stunt man because he has a hot towel over his head. And I'm talking nervously to actually no, I was in the hair trailer. They were Rachel and Michaela in the makeup trailer. I'm talking nervously to the hair people, but being friendly, just thinking, again, feeling like an imposter. And then I heard this, this kind of stentorian voice. He goes, Chris? And I turned next to me, giant guy with a towel on his head. He's got his hand, and he goes, David. And I go, oh, the stunt guy's named David. I take the towel off, and I see the black hair. I'm like, oh! Oh! It's David! And I had no idea. And that's how I met him. And he was just like, and I'm thinking, how do you know my name? But he must have heard
he probably got the call sheet and was like, this
exactly.
Is
Exactly. And he just, so he knew. And right away, that was a great first impression. Now, going back to that holding room in Cleveland, again, I was used to seeing David as Clark Kent. All of us were, maybe besides Rachel. And he comes off the set and he's wearing a black cloak.
Okay.
They didn't want paparazzi to catch him.
Yeah.
Even though they caught him anyway. But I'm not thinking. I'm just thinking, oh, there goes David as Clark without his glasses, having a brain fart. And he walks into this room and whips off the black cloak, and he's Superman. And
crazy.
The child in me came back.
You're like, that's Superman. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I wasn't in the movie anymore. I literally had out of body. I'm in a room with Superman, and I'm blown away, thinking, wow, he really turned it off and on like a light switch. And he's a completely different person from the person that we saw on set in Macon as Clark Kent. Even because he wasn't acting at the moment, but he's standing differently. Yeah. His bite is different because when he does Clark, he kind of does his underbite. He's like that. And I got so used to it thinking that's who I'm going to see in the suit. But he looked different because he held his jaw differently. He stood differently. And I just thought, holy crap, I'm in a room with Superman.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
It was an amazing experience. So he's cool to work with.
He definitely is. The more that, and this isn't just me, as I could be biased. I'm a Superman fan, but the more that I've watched this trailer and the more I've seen other people watch other trailers and more footage that we see, he's winning more people over. I guess it was a lot. It was obviously you get the comparison with him and Henry Cavill, which was another great Superman, but we don't know what to expect from David's because we don't see everything. So now we're getting little pieces of like his temperament, the physicality, the vulnerability, which is a big one. And I don't know why James did that, but across the board, a lot of people are liking the fact that you kind of get that vulnerability of Superman.
Yeah.
And it's critiqued obviously to a different degree, but I understand where he was going with that.
Yeah.
So it's very unique to see how he is with Clark. And I even saw like a breakdown of like his voice, and that was something that he learned, or at least people were saying that he utilized the same ideology that Christopher Reeves did with how he like Clark kind of has his couch and his voice is really high, and then he goes, Superman is Lois. You know, he changes his whole temperament, body structure. So literally, you're looking at a different person just with the glasses. Because I guess the argument is, you know, obviously Superman takes glasses off, and how can you not tell us not Clark?
Like, wait a minute. Exactly. Yeah.
Come on, man. Like, that's him.
But he really changed his face and body. And again, like I said, just seeing that on set, and it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
What he was able to do. It's subtle, but just enough to you look at him like, that's a different dude right now.
Dude, yeah.
It's not the guy we were thinking of on set.
It's like that.
He's a massive dude both ways, but he looked even bigger in the Superman outfit because he was so erect.
Yeah, he's pretty tall, right? He's like
he's 6'4". He and Nick. But it's so funny they got Lex Luthor to be so damn tall. Because Nick's tall too. They're both giant people.
He's another one. It was very because right before I saw the trailer with him as Lex, I watched that movie that he just did.
Is it The Jury?
The Juror. Yeah. I watched that with my wife, Tasha, and it was crazy because it was like I could see him evolve as an actor, like quality. Like he's a very, very like sharpened actor. So I was looking like, how's he gonna look at like Lex? I usually see hair and everything, and I saw that first pitch. It was a picture with him like against a car. He was like on a NASCAR track or something like that. I was like, oh, it's done. It's over. Because I already had like the like prestigious educations, but from the trailer, he looks a lot more ruthless than all the other Lexes. Even when you're talking about Rosenberg, like he was pretty tough. He's probably the best Lex that I've seen so far. And from Smallville, because he had a long history and a lot of different episodes and a lot of different variations of stuff. But like we were comparing the Lexes, the Clarks. Like I don't know what Hulk's gonna do, but I mean it's definitely something that is unique because he looks very mean, like very mean, a lot worse than the other ones. But it's interesting to see that, and you saw them actually on the set and how they went. Are they like method actors?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Definitely could see David getting in his own. Rachel, same thing. You know, Rachel had interesting warm-ups. That when I first saw, like, what is that? These arm stretches and movements, and you can tell they're just getting into the zone. And I'm thinking, okay, I got to take this more seriously. But
you see, you learn certain things, and everybody has their own stuff, you know.
Yeah, and even just there's the very first scene with Clark entering the Daily Planet, and again, I still have not seen the movie, but I have a run-in with him, and I'm supposed to punch him, a celebratory punch.
Oh, okay, okay.
I just kind of soft love tap. And by the fourth take, David comes over to me and says, "Hey, Chris." I said, "Come on, man, hit me hard. I'll be okay." I said, "What? You'll hit me hard." Okay.
Like, all right.
I was like, I'm thinking of, but it is me. I don't want to. I'm like, he's number one at the call sheet.
Yeah.
I don't know what number I'm at, but I'm gonna get kicked off this scene the whole film if I hit him hard. Yeah. So I don't think I ever got up the gusto to hit him as hard as he wanted.
Yeah.
He was so into method. He said, "No, you got to go for it." So I just slipped one by. Run off.
You got that on the check mark. Yeah, I hit
you. It's so funny too because I'm curious to see how that scene plays out because that shot of him coming off the street and coming inside, it's not a one take.
Okay.
But when you see it, I think it's going to feel like it. They had so many cameras. Again, the Daily Planet is in this giant office space. I'm talking the detail they put in it. My desk, my desk, Lois's desk, Clark's desk. On the other side is Jimmy, Steve, and then Kat. So I'm right up against Lois and Clark, and you look at everyone's desk, down to the Post-it notes.
Wow.
The detail.
Wow.
little notes from me, little interview notes, Ron, the mayor. I mean, the detail. It's insane. And so it's a seamless shot, all these different cameras in there. And James, again, being the red shirt that I am, he sometimes in a scene, I wouldn't even be a thought, right? Other times, like, hey, Chris, or sometimes you call you by a character named Troop. We're going to have you do this, okay? He's kind of with the flow. He has the stuff mapped out. He has the board. He has the script. But the extraneous things is kind of like he may change it up. So he said, yeah, you're going to walk by Clark. You're going to punch him, keep it moving. And I said, okay. So I did that, and I walked. And I'm like, I obviously can't just stop.
Yeah.
There's so many cameras in here. I got to keep it moving. And not to say that he was not giving me direction. I mean, he wasn't, but there's no need to because the camera's following Clark.
Yeah.
So after the first take, during the first take, I walk away and I just casually go to this extra who's playing someone sitting at a podium. And I pretend to be talking to her. And I'm kind of looking back and I'm seeing this scene just keeps going. Crap, this scene's unfolding by my desk. And I'm not in the scene.
Here, yeah.
I just walked my ass off this scene. I said, okay. And thankfully and the scene goes on. And thankfully, when they cut, he's like, oh, let's shoot that a little differently. And I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I know there's going to be about 20 more takes of these.
Yeah.
I'll put myself back in the scene because I can't be. That scene
Just walk it.
my
Yeah.
desk, and I'm over here. Yeah. So the next time they do it, boop, I go over and I'm talking to the extra playing the receptionist.
There you go.
I grab a paper and I put it under my arm and I walk all the way back. The scene is still going. And I got it mapped out, timed out, and I walk back and I sit at my desk. Well, first I look at my computer and I sit at my desk. Clark and Lois are talking. And I'm kind of in the shot.
Let's go.
Go. And then Jimmy pulls up and they're looking at something on the monitor. I'm sure you saw on Entertainment Weekly the shot of the three of them looking up.
Yeah.
My desk is right next to them. So they're looking at something in this monitor. And I take my chair's on wheels, and I just scooched up in the shot.
That's it.
And I was looking at the monitor too with them, and I'm waiting for James to say cut, thinking, oh, he's going to give me an earful. Being like, what are you doing in the scene? Right?
Yeah.
And then he comes in, he goes, okay, yeah, let's do that again. That's great. Cool. Perfect. Chris, that's perfect. Come. This time, kind of move a little forward into the frame and tilt your head up a little more. And I was like, okay.
Say less.
So every opportunity I
there.
got for stuff, if I wasn't in the focus of the scene, you better believe I was somehow sliding.
Yeah, that's what you gotta do. It's like why does he keep doing it? He's like,
yeah, and then again, it evolved into a lot.
That's
more.
a good thing that he does that though, because it's a natural thing, and like you said, that it wasn't like they were focused on Clark. And then that wasn't a realistic thing that you were doing. You just added kind of like an improv, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that looks more natural." I mean,
I'm glad you said that. I literally thought that to myself. I literally said, "This is an office.
Yeah,
that's my desk.
Yeah, why would I not be at my desk?
Why would I not be at my desk? Yeah, I was told to punch him and keep moving. But what am I gonna do? Is just go into the hyperspace and disappear?
Oh.
No. If I've gone to the bathroom, whatever I'm doing, this is
back.
going on 5 minutes. I'm going back to my desk.
Yeah. See, I mean, that's a plus. Because more than likely, even from like an actor's standpoint, yeah, you were trying to get in the picture, but like you said, it's a realistic way of looking. Like it makes the that scene a little bit more authentic.
Yeah,
and then it's not like he has to figure, what's missing. Like, Ron, you got to get back in the frame, and you're doing it. And he's like, I like that. There's been plenty of times. My youngest daughter, or she's my second to youngest, we did a commercial for Burlington Coat Factory years ago when she was little, and I remember the director. There was a scene, the closing scene of the commercial, and she said it wasn't scripted. She just said, "I guess we're all done." Like when we were like. She said it to us the first time. She was like, I guess we're all done. And the director was like, what did she say? I'm thinking she's gonna get in trouble. Like, okay, I gotta tell my baby, like, all right, babe, this is good. Move up the set. This is it. Daddy's okay. It's okay, right? The director was like, he was like, no, what did she say? And I was like, she said it's like, she thinks it's all done. She was like, put the camera back on. They rolled it again. They were like, "Can she do it again?" So like literally, she got the end scene of the commercial is her saying, I think we're all done." And
Man,
that
that's
line
amazing.
has always been like it played for like 4 or 5 years. Everyone
Uh-huh.
kept running up to her, "Are you the little girl?" Blah blah blah. And so like it was something that stuck with her, and it was just an improv. So sometimes it wins, and sometimes they're like, "Okay."
I'm telling you, it's so crazy. I have a somewhat similar story. It's a little adjacent.
Mm,
When I first moved to LA, my roommate at the time wanted to act in commercials.
okay.
A lot of people, it's it's
Yeah.
a big step, right? It's lucrative, especially back then. If you get a national commercial,
Hmm.
if it's a campaign, even more.
Hmm.
And I remember we were on our way to the beach one day. And he said, "Hey, there's an open casting call at this spot on the way to the beach. Do you mind if we stop there? And it shouldn't be too long." I said, "Okay." So he went into audition, and I came in because it was hot. I had no car. My air conditioner was busted. So I said, "I'm gonna come." And I was sitting in the lobby, just kind of minding my business.
Mm.
He's in there auditioning at the time. A few other people lined up in there. But sitting in the lobby, the casting director comes out and he sees me and he goes, "Hey." I said, "Hey."
Oh.
And then he just goes to the bathroom and I'm thinking, and at the time I didn't know he's a casting director. I just figured, why is he looking at me like that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he comes back in, he goes, "Hey." And again, I go, "Hey." And he's about to go into the room and he turns around and he goes, Are you coming in and reading?" I said,
See?
"Me? Oh, no. I'm waiting for my roommate. He's in there." He said, "Oh, okay. But you want to come in and read?" I said, "Mm."
No, I'm good.
Come on in. I said, "Oh, I don't have an agent or anything." He said, "No, it's an open cast car. You don't need an agent." I said,
Mm.
"Oh, I don't have a headshot." He goes, "We'll take a Polaroid. You're good." Okay. So I go in and then I just start reading. They give me some stuff to say, free form, you
Mhm.
know. They don't give me a script. They just say, talk about it. It was for Lord of the Rings, the first movie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they say, just talk about it and start. And thankfully I had seen it. So I just started talking about it. And they were laughing. They loved whatever I had to say. And I just figured that's strange. And I come out, my roommate's in the lobby. He's like, "Hey, where were you?" I
Hmm.
said, "Oh, I was inside." He said, "Were you reading?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, they asked you to come in." He goes, "Oh, okay." Um, and then about, I think it was maybe 6 days later, I get a call and I booked the commercial.
See? See?
It was a national commercial. I said, "Great, fantastic."
It is, man. I mean, what happens is you never know what's going to happen across the board. So a lot of times, even if you're in that space, you can get lucky. I guess
Yeah.
it's the only piece that's like a lucky thing.
Yeah, it's true. And and with that luck means timing, was it? Our preparation, whatever. And
Mhm.
and that was one of those situations, right, where they could have said, "Come in and read," and I could have blown it.
Yep.
But I always, just in my mind, what I tell folks is, especially when they talk about networking and they want tips on networking, I always say, first and foremost, just be yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be authentic. Even if you're the most boring person in the world, if you're authentic and you're yourself, you're
Mhm.
not fooling, you don't have to fool anybody. They know what they're getting. And that's all it was. I just went in, I was prepared when I had that moment, but I was prepared to
See,
be
but
myself.
the thing is that you were there. The
Hmm.
hardest part about a lot of people, a friend of mine, he always says like, half of the project or half of the problem is you just showing up. Just show
Hmm.
up. I mean, every day, just show up, and you let it be what it's going to be. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So like you were there, and you probably didn't even anticipate it, and that was God's way of saying like, this might be something you could do.
Yeah. I
You
didn't
know?
anticipate it at all. And the only thing I knew how to do was be myself.
Yeah,
And
man.
that's what they liked. And he saw it when he saw me sitting there.
Yeah. That's cool, man. So I mean, we can talk about a lot of different things. Obviously, I did want to pick your brain about Superman and like the next ideology of that. So I'm looking forward to seeing you on the screen. I'm looking forward to seeing what else comes from the trailers and stuff. But for you, and this is my last question until we get into the five. I call them like the hot questions.
Mhm.
But the last question for you is, what do you see for your future? Like, what's the next thing for Chris? Like, what are you going to do? Like the next project?
That's a very good question. So I've had a lot of people ask me, hey, so are you going to go full-time acting? You know, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do now?
Yeah, this is a big thing. This is not small.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. And I would, I, I wasn't talking about being yourself or being authentic. I was being very inauthentic anytime people would ask me that. For
Okay.
a while. For a while. For almost a year. Anytime someone would ask me that, I would say, nah, I'm good. You know, I'm going to use this opportunity to parlay my writing, which is true. That's all true.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, the acting thing, you know, I don't need that. I mean, obviously, if we do the sequels, I'll come back for that. But everything else, you know, I don't know who I was trying to fool. Maybe I was just keeping myself not humble, but not expecting much because I know this. We all know this is a hard medium,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I didn't want to. There was also a part of me that was respecting the craft, and I didn't want anyone to think that I was just this guy who got a lucky moment, and I'm disrespecting all the hard work that other people have done by just saying, "Hey, I'm going to do this now." You know what I mean? It's my prerogative to do that, but you know how people think and feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can only you know, take that with a grain of salt, but at the same time, I want to show respect for people who have been at this for a while. So for that reason alone, I was being very cagey if anyone would ever ask me about it. And over time, whether it was castmates or friends, who just told me, no, just allow yourself to enjoy that you're in this.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to seek the opportunities that you can get from this. Right? So yeah, now I still got Kelly Clarkson, which is my steady.
Yep.
But steady, I say in quotes because that, you know, TV doesn't last forever. That won't last forever. So while I'm writing, and now I have a new manager who's amazing. He's fantastic. He's been getting me into a lot of rooms for my writing projects, but he's also been getting me auditions.
Yeah.
First, I was resistant to it. I said, no, I want to
A
focus
writer.
Yeah, he said, no, we're going to do auditions too, right? So yeah, that's what's next is definitely to try to sell some of my projects. Again, since 2019, when I started doing it again, I have a whole back haul. And now I'm getting into these rooms because of Superman, thankfully, and meeting some amazing people from Angela Bassett's company to, I mean, you name it, not to get too much into it, with Oprah's company, you know, all these great opportunities. And then the guy who did the student film I was in where I won Best Actor said he's an accomplished showrunner and show creator now. He has a couple shows out right now that he does. And I'm meeting with him. I moved from LA 2 years ago to Atlanta.
Okay.
Different.
Yeah.
But I'm going back to LA for the premiere, and he and I are going to sit down and talk, and who knows what's there for me. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's short way of answering is I'm going to seize this opportunity.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. I mean, I'm a person that I look at because I've had friends that have gone on and made some decent careers out of their, and everyone has a starting point. You know what I mean? So like, there's never a level to me of success because obviously you can get success and you have to keep it. People have different perspectives of what is successful and everything like that. But like I said earlier, if you're making a living doing things, and now this is another outlet, another angle that you probably weren't even thinking about maybe earlier on, but like, I mean, you got into Superman, bro. Like that is something that you need definitely to allow to open up doors. And I can see you doing a lot of other stuff because when I looked at your resume, I was like, I didn't even realize that wasn't like your main attribute to the industry. So I'm like, let alone you can act in a role and you can kind of challenge yourself in that aspect, but you can write a project, you have contact. I don't know if you do the directing, but then you can also produce projects. So you got a lot of avenues to open up and a lot of doors opening. So good, you know, best of luck with you for that, because I can see a lot of things changing, especially when this comes out. It's going to be even bigger because we were like, wait a minute, that's you. And yeah, that's it. That's all it takes.
Yeah, that's
for
true.
the most part.
Yeah. Hopefully, it's not though.
Yeah, man. I mean, you just keep moving.
Yeah.
So like I said, I appreciate you coming on the show. I picked your mind. I've gotten some scoops, I would say, a little bit. I tracked some stuff out. And like I said, I look forward to seeing this. I've been watching the trailer. This last one has got me even more pumped because they're giving you a little bit more of the actual like movie. I was telling all my friends that are on Instagram and people that follow in comics and everything that like James was giving us like scraps before. He's giving like little pieces, little taste. But this last one gives you everything, like a little bit of everything. So I can't wait. Can't wait.
Oh yeah. And even then, there's still so much more. And this is coming from a guy who didn't even read the script.
Wow.
I got the script and I don't like spoilers.
Yeah.
And I was just like, how am I gonna read this? I don't want to know this.
Yeah.
So I only look at my scenes. And obviously know what was happening in my scene, but I refused.
Yeah.
I was so afraid to read it. So I still don't know. It's still going to be a complete...
Like a shock when you see it all put together.
Yeah. The cast, we're all on this cast text thread that Nathan started. And we all, congratulate each other if someone books another part. If there's a birthday, we say happy birthday. Anytime there's a trailer or a teaser come out, we all celebrate each other and pat each other on the back.
Yep.
We all have these moments, and it's just been it's been phenomenal, right? And the latest moment was today, because in the past week, James is finally showing it to the cast.
Okay,
I've seen it, and they're everyone's mind is blown on the cast side, right? I have not seen it. Well, for one, because I'm not in LA right now.
Yeah.
Sure, if I was there, I probably would have gone to one of the screenings. So by the time the premiere comes around, I probably will be the only cast member who hasn't seen it. Maybe Wendell too, because I know he's currently in New York and he's busy with other stuff. So we might be the only two by then who have not seen it by the time it comes out. So, but everyone, right as of now, they're just raving. It's not even like that, oh, we're raving because we're in it type of thing. No, everyone just celebrating life and saying James is a genius and he hit the mark with this.
Yeah, I remember your post. Remember the guy that was walking? He had a straight face. He was like, he knew the assignment.
Wait, what's this?
When I saw that post that you wrote, I was laughing at you. You said the guy that was in the picture. I remember I told you, I was like, I don't know who that guy is. Or whatever. He was like, he knew the assignment.
That's right.
That's it, man. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
I said, those are expensive. I'm not paying that much for those shoes. And then one day he came home and he was so excited to give me these Converse. They were Magic Johnson's Converse.
Okay.
I was so pissed, thinking, Jordan? He said, yeah, Magic Johnson shoes. I said, Magic Johnson shoes?
Yeah.
And I got made fun of at school for not having Jordans and wearing Magic Johnson shoes. And so I think that for me was when that was the beginning of the end for me. As I even thought of Magic Johnson equated to my embarrassment of wearing those shoes. And I just moved on from it. Now, if I could find those shoes now on eBay or anywhere, hell yeah, I wish I still had those shoes.
Dave, you held on to them.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
You held on to them.
Yeah.
A nice little check.
Yeah. But yeah, so neither, but if I had to choose, I'd probably say the Lakers because I was a Magic Johnson and Lakers fan. And ironically ended up in LA in 98 for 24 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And with Jeannie Buss, we were friends with her through a mutual friend. And she had not the floor seats, but the first row seats behind the floor seats.
Floor seats, yep.
We would have about, I think, 12 seats in total. And she would let us come and we'd just sit behind Jeannie and get a great shot.
Get everything.
I saw so many Lakers games sitting in Jeannie's seats with her.
That's cool. That's what's up. Next one is food question. Pizza or hamburgers?
Oof. Yeah, it depends on my mood, but if I had to pick one, I'll probably go pizza. If I was younger, I would have said a hamburger. Only now because hamburgers have too many hijinks. Yeah. They're so big and messy now. And I'm boring. If I ever go to a place, I just always say, give me the meat. Fun.
Yeah.
Anything else
stuff on it.
Yeah. I just want it simple. But pizzas, not that I want it crazy or anything extraneous, but I do love what some of these places are doing with pizzas now. There's so much variety. So for that,
Pizza is always like a go-to. I think it's fulfilling, and then depending on where you go, like I grew up in Connecticut, and one of the things that I noticed when you live in Connecticut, because I didn't know that until I got out, that Connecticut is supposedly have the best pizza in the nation or something like that. And it comes like, I guess New Haven, it does. I'm like, I don't know.
Wow.
I ate in Boston. I ate in where we're at. I'm like, oh, I get it now.
Wow, that's crazy.
I understand.
What part of Connecticut are you from?
I grew up in Stratford.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So like New Haven, Norwalk, Bridgeport.
The port. One of my good friends is from Bridgeport.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, man. But I didn't know that until I moved out here. We were trying to find that and Chinese food. For some reason it's weird we can't find it, but we do our best. The next one, best. You could choose one or the other. Michael Jackson or Prince.
That's easy for me. Look, don't get me wrong, love them both. Both, but I was convinced. I was younger that I would grow up to be a Jackson family historian.
Okay.
Really, I was convinced.
That's it. It's done deal.
Yeah, I was convinced because when you watch those old music documentaries, especially that TV show on VH1 Behind the Music when that used to be on, you would see an expert like, yeah. So when Pac sat down with his mother. And they're talking about it as if they know Tupac. I don't know this guy. And they're talking about their lives so intricately. I was convinced I was going to be that person for the Jackson family. And not just with Jackson, I was obsessed with the entire family. You couldn't tell me anything that I didn't know. And to this day, people are still not, with the power of social media, are only now discovering little random Michael Jackson facts.
Yeah.
Stuff that I was aware of all my life. And all my friends know I love Michael Jackson, and they'll send me stuff, and I'm thinking, you're about 30 years late. I got that on beta.
Been known that. Yeah, I've been known.
Yeah, it's crazy. So definitely Michael Jackson. Now, but I also love Prince, and unlike Michael, I never met in person. Prince, I worked with 3 times.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah. Worked closely with him 3 times. Man gave me an ulcer, literally. He's a genius, and everything you hear about him is true.
True. Yeah. He said he could ball pretty good. He used to school people. That's what he said.
But yeah, last time I saw him, he was wearing what I thought was a Lakers tracksuit, but it was actually it was Vikings color.
Okay, yeah, same. Nope,
yeah. So I was like, why is he wearing Lakers stuff? I was like, oh no, I forgot he's from Minneapolis. And that was the last time I saw him. We were working on the edit together.
Oh, that's
and he put me to the ringer. Man, he put me to the ringer. But yeah, and he knew he did too, because I remember I was on Arsenio's reboot show, and he came in to do the night before we had shot the entire episode. We did a Prince takeover that I booked and put together. It was a pain in the ass, but it ended up being great. And I know this from the 2 times I worked with Prince in the past, is he likes to edit his own crap. So I gave my sound mixer a heads up. I said, hey, just so you know, I don't know what you have planned the evening that Prince is on next week, because we had a week notice, because he always would find me for projects I am. I swear to God. I don't know how. It was almost mystical. Almost mystical.
He had his ways.
He just always knew where I was. In fact, I remember when I booked Eddie Murphy on Arsenio, I get a call from this block number, and they said, hey, Christopher? It's like, yes. And I always know that it's someone.
Voice, yeah.
Because they all talk like this. Like they're from outwardly planets. Christopher? I said, yeah. And they all called him P. P wants to know who's the music guest for the Arsenio episode. And I'm thinking, just booked this an hour ago. How does the outside world know? Yeah, how do you? I swear.
See?
Yes, it was crazy. And I said, I'm sure we'll be cool with having Prince as the music guest. No, Eddie wasn't cool with that. He didn't want to be overshadowed, so I couldn't do it.
Okay, yeah.
So when he came back to do the other episode, the takeover, I had a week. It was a week notice. I told the sound mixer, be prepared. We're going to be up all night with Prince, all night, because that's just how he works. And he was excited. And the mixer, he was the most cantankerous person I know, but he was so excited about this. So sure enough, we wrapped the show, and it was from 9:30 p.m., more like 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. Me, my sound mixer and Prince sat in the sound truck
Mm.
while he did the audio edits because it was a show takeover. So he had about 5 songs in the show where
Okay.
he did a mix of every single song.
Oh wow.
And it was amazing to see what he can do and what he could hear.
Wow.
There was this one part where he had a song called Funk and Roll, and
Mm.
he had a high school band that he brought in to perform with us, and he had his horn section. So you have about easily 20 something horns in this song. And it's just going on. Boop, boop, boop. It's just this crescendo of horn during the bridge. And then Prince goes, "Hey, can you stop that real quick?" And my sound mixer stopped it. He goes, "Is there a problem?" And he goes, someone missed a note. They were off key."
Oh wow.
He said, "What?" So he started isolating all the channels. It's like horn 1, you hear horn 2, horn 3. We get to about horn 4, it's like, and you could hear, because the guy horn is mic'd, you could hear him go, "Ugh."
Crazy. Yeah, it's like, oh, he
You
got
could
me.
hear him literally go, "Ugh." And we start laughing, and Prince goes, "Oh, he just did that because he knows I'm going to dock his pay," which is what he did. He was from the school of James Brown.
Yeah.
He would not pay.
Yeah.
But to hear that he could hear out of all those horns,
Mhm.
one missed note, that's crazy. He was a genius. Swear to God, all that was true.
Mm.
And so when the next morning he came into the video edit with us, and I warned the team, I said, "He's going to come in and do the video edit.
Be a long
It's going to be a long day."
good day.
And they were all excited, thankfully. And I'll never forget when I said goodbye to him. He knew that he put me through the ringer because, well, first I walked him to his car, him and Theo, his chief of staff.
Mm.
And Theo goes, "Chris, who's the director who directed the episode and who was in the editing booth?" I said, "Oh, yeah, that's Brandon." And he goes, "Oh, yeah. And he goes to Prince. He's like, Brandon what?" And then and I swear to God, the guy Theo had a black book and a little pen, wrote his name down in there, closed the black book, and put it in his lapel pocket.
That's
and I
it.
thought,
It's not a good.
like, is this a good thing or
That's not a good sign. That's not a
Did I
good
just
sign.
kill him? Yeah. So then Prince gets in the car and he basically goes, and this was his way of apologizing without apologizing, knowing that he put me through the ringer.
Mm.
It was a crazy week, which could be a whole other podcast. He literally leaned his head out and goes, "Hey, so are you doing this again next Thursday?" And I go, and he just,
Oh, you funny.
and then he takes off. And that was his way of saying, "Yeah, I put you through
Yeah, I
the
got you. I got you.
Yeah,
My
but I
fault.
got you. Yeah." And that was the last time I saw him. And then, he died a couple years after that, which was a shame.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff that we go through with, like, there's talented people, and then there's like exceptions to that rule. There's like usually they're very compatible in the sense of like who is the better entertainer and where is your bias to. Like Michael, performance wise, Prince, like everything. He play instruments and everything, all that stuff. So it's a very good comparison. It's not like a correct answer. It's just to say, what would be the preference for you?
I love them both, but if I had to pick one, Michael.
The last one, we talked about Bruce Lee earlier, so I'm not gonna go. I think you would. I think I know the answer to what you're gonna say, but I'll try to choose 2 other people. So you have an altercation at a bar, right? And the guy that you have that altercation with has somebody, but it's out of these 2 people, okay? You get to choose your person, but then the other guy gets to choose the other, right?
Okay.
Who are you coming with to help you with this altercation, fighting, right?
And it's going to be physical?
It's going to be a physical altercation, okay? It's going to be a physical altercation. You and this other person.
Okay.
This person that you got in an argument with and the other person I named.
Okay. So, me and Bruce Lee, and I got to name one more person to come with us?
No, I get to pick them and then you gotta choose. So you have. I wasn't gonna say Bruce Lee because you're gonna choose him. He's like, nah.
Okay.
We go.
So am I choosing another person with Bruce?
No. So you have to choose out of these 2 people. All right.
Okay.
These 2 people.
Got it.
You have. Should I? Well, I can't use Bruce now. I was gonna use him anyway. You have Donnie Chen,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and you have Jackie Chan.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you going with?
Man, I'm gonna go with Donnie.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Donnie because not to say that Jackie is not authentic, but he's said it 1,000 times.
Yeah, yeah,
He's more of a dancer,
yeah.
right? What he does is he goes, "Oh, this is all show. Yeah, I can fight, but no, I'm still gonna get beat up." He'll say that. So for that reason alone, I'm thinking Donnie. I'm taking Donnie because Jackie, I'm not trying to have you dancing and doing stunts.
And doing stunts.
We gotta get out.
But Jackie he can fight.
Yeah, he can fight.
But he's I've been on record. I'm not a fighter. I'm a artist.
Yeah. Like he compares it to dancing, and which is cool. And look, and every athlete, they get better if they take ballet, and they can still take us out. But yeah, Donnie, not to say he's more authentic than Jackie, but everything that I know about Donnie seems to be,
he's a real deal type of thing. Okay, that's cool. That's what's up.
Yeah, that's a good question. Now, if I had to pick two people to join up with, to fight with, I'm definitely Bruce. Because I think most people know by now that he wasn't just acting; that the guy could fight, and he would challenge people on the set all the time.
He had a rough upbringing too.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until recently, like how much he fought when he was like a young kid.
Yeah.
He got in a whole bunch, like supposedly got into issues with Triad and all kinds of crazy stuff. Like,
always. And then the Triad would send actors to be extras in his films, and they would pick fights with them.
Try to get them. It's like, let's go.
So for that alone, and then if I had to pick another person, definitely in his heyday,
I gotta see this. Mike,
because he was a
Guaranteed. So I've asked this question before, like if you got to choose Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali, and most people are like, "Nah, I'm going with Mike," because
man, I was terrified of that man. Anytime,
I'm still scared. There's not that many people I'm scared of, but I wouldn't put like this. I wouldn't back down from fighting Mike Tyson, but I would definitely be a little nervous.
Oh, I would back down. I was dating this girl. I took her to a Babyface concert. First of all, I knew we weren't going to last that night because I asked her, I said, "Hey, because I get free tickets through work." I'm like, "Hey, I got free tickets to Babyface. Want to go see Babyface?" She's Babyface.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember thinking, "Oh, this is over after this."
Yeah,
yeah. So I took her to the Babyface concert. It was the House of Blues in LA. And we were in the VIP section, which was the upper balcony. And, I'm sitting there and I'm looking down and Babyface is singing. And I see this woman just swaying and enjoying Babyface. And there's this guy just standing behind her with his arms around her waist, like it's a prom pose, but he's not smiling. He's not swaying. He's just standing there. And I look down, I'm like, that's Mike Tyson.
See?
And I start laughing, thinking, because he's just looking at Babyface like this.
But
and I'm thinking, is he not even enjoying this? And I laugh.
Not doing anything right now.
Yeah. And I hit, I tapped my the girl scene at the time. I was like, oh my God, look at that's Mike Tyson down there just sitting there not doing anything. And I look back, and somehow he must have felt me making fun of him because he was looking up at me now.
I don't want no swap. Like, no, Mike, no. I don't want.
What I say?
It was him.
I was like, it was her. She want to be here. When I say I was watching my six for like a month.
Yep.
Just from that one catching me laughing at him, I was terrified.
Mike is no joke. He's the type of guy that's not gonna hold back how old he is. That's why I mean, even the thing, like I don't know the details behind it. That fight that he had with Logan Paul. I was like, there is no way that was a real fight. Like he was really fighting.
I was so frustrated with it. I was throwing punch, man. He was cutting all his punch short.
And they showed like I guess researchers, they were trying to analyze, like he wasn't doing his full potential. He wasn't even like really throwing at him. So I don't know. That's part of it. I've seen other things like that. I get why he would have done it, and they built it up. It was definitely a big fight, but I still think I'm like, nah. You can't really. I don't know. There ain't that many people that are gonna go with Mike, especially in his prime. Nah.
Forget that. He was terrifying.
Yeah,
I remember he fought Michael Spinks. I remember I was just thinking, just go down.
Yeah, just don't get up. No.
He's going to kill you.
Yeah. He's going. Yeah, he eating food out of a straw. Nah. Those folks like nah. Amazing. But like I said, I think this was an awesome interview. I appreciate you giving me some time out of your life.
Please, thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like I said, this is hopefully it's the first of many. I see a lot of great things in your future, especially with the things that we talked about. And I would also just always like to pick your brain. We communicate on social media all the time, so it's not like I'm going to see other things happen. And I'm praying for you to just keep moving and keep your dreams moving in that direction.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. That's the hope, and I appreciate it. Again, thank you for having me on. Your questions are outstanding. The conversation's great. I hope you got something out of this.
Oh, good. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We're gonna close, and the last piece is just where can the audience, if they were trying to find you on social media or trying to communicate and contact, because I don't know a lot of different actors. I have a lot of friends that are probably in different angles, and they would try to reach out to you.
Yeah, this is great. This is important too because for years I was always not anti-social media, but I always kept my my page private.
Yeah.
Because I just would follow people who I knew personally and vice versa, and that was that. So when the whole Superman thing happened, someone basically tried to impersonate me. Hey, I'm Ron Troop, and I don't even know where they got photos. They had
a lot of clones. I got like 30 clones.
I was like, what?
I don't know why they do it, but they do it. I'm not even famous.
Crazy. It was the first time it happened to me. And then, someone I know said, oh, now that you're in a Superman movie, this is going to happen. You should get verified. I said, okay. So I try to go through, Meta basically saying, hey, I'm in this movie. Can you verify me? And, it just wasn't enough yet, which is cool. But they suggested just pay for the verification. Therefore, people can't do this to you as easily because you're verified, and we have people you can call that if that happens again. And I said, okay, so I did that, but what I didn't realize is that I had to be public. And I was like, oh shoot. And I was coming from, I think I had like 900 followers at the time, and now I'm almost at 3,000, only because I just recently opened it up and some Superman folks are following.
I'm saying you're gonna see it's gonna take off.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. So for that now, I'm like, okay, let's, if I need some presence, especially with the marketing team with the movie, I noticed anyone who had a small footprint in social, and maybe it's just me saying this, that they weren't utilized in the market. Now I don't want to get to the politics of it, but something's there. I saw some correlation. Now, again, I get it. So it's Mr. spelled out Mister, Mr. Christopher McDonald, my full name, at that's my handle at on IG, Mr. Christopher.
Okay, awesome.
Mr. spelled out, because if you put MRs, it's gonna be some other.
We get a whole bunch of clones and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So definitely, to all the audience, wherever, because like I said, I'm gonna chop it up, and you'll see some stuff on my pages, see some stuff on my business pages, and so on. Definitely reach out to Chris. Pick his mind. Hopefully, go and support him in Superman. And we're looking forward to see you now on the screen, but then also behind the scenes with all your other projects like the Kelly Clarkson Show and everything else that you're writing. Like I said, I pray that you get success and more success.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
We'll talk soon. And like I said, I appreciate you being on my show, bro.
Likewise, man.
All right now.
All right, take care.
All right.
All right, bye.